Sheri, I've been thinking about how I want to describe February, how I'm feeling about February. And hate is a strong word, you know?
Hmm.
And so that's why I've chosen it. I've chosen it to describe how I feel about February. No,
Odd.
that's a bit of an exaggeration. I don't hate February, and if for no other reason, it's because our last child was born in February. So for that reason, I love the month. But I feel like it always has significantly more slaps in the face for us than the other months. Right at the start of the month, we unexpectedly received a property tax bill that was four times what we thought it was going to be. And not because the property valuation went up because of some back end clerical thing. We have dealt with a lot of grumpy people who I think I'm going to diagnose on their behalf that they're
Okay.
dealing with seasonal affective disorder because we've been let down by grumpy people, and you know what I'm talking about. Our daughter lives in Minnesota, and Minnesota is the epicenter of our country's drama and trauma right now. So that's hard about February. I ripped the trim off of our garage with my bumper of my car the other day,
Hmm.
and that's right before we get ready to put it back on the market to sell. So I got a weekend project now, so that's good. While we're talking about my car, I have a low tire sensor that's flashing at me, and all four tires are fully up. I checked and double checked and then checked one more time. I love computers and cars. And then even February's holidays, I was thinking about this. February's holidays kind of, they suck, or at least they're questionable. I mean, we've got a holiday where men buy crotchless panties for women who just dream about the warm embrace of flannel pajamas. So the degree to which we are not aligned cannot be overstated. And then we've got another holiday in February where a rodent tells us we're going to keep being miserable for 6 more weeks. Does Puxatawny Phil ever not see his shadow? Do you know the answer to
There are
that?
times. There are times.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think
can't
both
remember.
answers kind of relate to it's just still winter and you're going to experience winter. Now, when you're talking about the grumpy people, are you just referring to yourself?
Well, believe it
I
or
don't
not.
know. Like, I'm going to brag. We're sitting here in Denver and it's going to be a high of like 63 today.
Yeah.
And the sun is shining. We have 10 days forecasted to be nearly 70 degrees. So February is not my most hated month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good job making me check myself, Sheri.
Yeah. And,
I do have a lot of
you have a car
personal
that's
problems
still
right now.
running.
Yeah,
I mean,
still
even
run.
if the
Damn it,
tire
still run. And I can fix the garage. I know how. I have the tools. It'll be fine. You're right.
that just so you didn't have to help inside the house this weekend since it was so nice.
No, but that does sound brilliant.
Yeah. If you had only planned that.
Which is why I wouldn't have thought of it, because it does sound brilliant. Okay, so at the end of the day, when a lot of the particular shit that I talked about, this first world shit, hit the fan, at the end of that day, we had sex. After a lot of nice touching and nervous system regulating, calming, and non-sexual and pre-sexual physical contact. And I know how much you appreciate that, and you got a lot out of it. It calmed and relaxed you.
Yeah. Yeah, you weren't overtly grumpy the way you're behaving right now.
Oh, that's good.
You didn't like make your list of things to grump about.
I didn't whisper that in your ear.
Yeah, the sweet nothings of grumpiness. So it made it very nice. We had a busy weekend. So that coming off of that weekend of busyness, you knew that I wasn't into something much longer, but just that like physical connection. So the next morning I thought, we have some extra time this morning. So I was the one that initiated sexual contact in the morning as a little like gift to you.
Yeah. Now,
treat,
as you know,
bonus
to start your day. I did, especially since we had sex the night before. It shocked me, but I'm always really like cautious in situations like that. Like, is she doing this out of pity, or is she doing this because she feels obliged? And you actually told me in the moment, no, this is like a gift. I want to do this for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't express how much that, like, just that little comment means. Because, you're sitting there going, I know I'm super horny, and I'm always super horny, and am I an awful human? And then
that's what you're thinking yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of negative self-talk goes on upstairs. So that was really, really, really helpful.
Good.
Thank you for that. And thank you for talking about it. Yeah, the really important message about that is, when we talk about the kind of stress that February brings for me, apparently, maybe only me, in our marriage back when I was in active addiction or in early sobriety, or really until we established 100% emotional safety in our relationship, it this kind of stress, February stress I mentioned, it would have resulted in bickering, snippiness, low self confidence. We would have been taking shots at each other and generally giving in to the shitstorm that was kind of swirling around us. But instead, we recognized the need for mutual comfort, and we both felt safe enough to engage. And I feel like sometimes we talk about emotional safety a lot, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like people are like, all right, yeah, emotional safety. What else you got? Like, that can't really be it. And they probably think it sounds weak sauce, but I think it's really, really critical. Do you feel like you would have been able to engage in that way if you didn't feel really safe and calm in the relationship?
Oh, I absolutely would have not been able to engage in that. You would have, like back in those days before we had emotional safety and while you were drinking or maybe early sobriety, you would have been in the pity party mode, the victim mode, acting like you're the only thing, only person in the world that's been slighted by the government or your car or,
Yeah, probably would have ripped the trim off on the other side of the garage just in spite.
I think the way you handled it, you were bringing the issues up to me as we uncovered them. But I think that the way you handled it was a much safer and reliable and calmer way than in many years in the past.
Dan, before we formally introduce you, can you please react to that? Can you give us a little pre-interview opinion on the importance of emotional safety in a relationship?
100%, like what Sheri said. Like, really, is that all? Is that more he can offer? Absolutely, that is the thing. It is so important. And I love what you two are talking about with the importance of being, yeah, like you have 100% emotional trust with each other and establishing that. It is so critical for any relationship, especially a long-term relationship. So, yes, emotional safety is super important. And uh, just proactively creating that is what should be on our minds always.
I love it. Enthusiastic endorsement. I knew we were going to like you, Dan. We're going to introduce you in just a second, but first, we're going to remind our listeners that later this month, we will interview Laura Hammock for our quarterly Ask Laura episode of the Untoxicated podcast. Listeners, what do you want to ask Laura? Laura Hammock is a licensed clinical social worker and a mental health therapist. She works with adults, both individuals and couples, working through the impacts of anxiety, depression, ADHD, addiction, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder, trauma, and relationship issues. What question do you want to ask a therapist if only you had a relationship with a therapist? Or maybe you do and you want a second opinion about that therapist you have. Ask Laura. Send your question via email to matt@soberandunashamed.com with Ask Laura in the subject line. That's matt@soberandunashamed.com for Ask Laura. Dan Purcell is an intimacy coach and the founder of Get Your Marriage On, which includes courses, videos, writing apps, and the Get Your Marriage On podcast, which is where we found Dan. Dan, I want to know, did you go from running a custom software development company to become a Christian intimacy coach?
Yeah, that's quite a great story. So, I've always had an itch for entrepreneurship. Even when in high school, somehow I convinced the cheerleaders that did an annual fundraiser, instead of outsourcing it to this other company, to let me do it. And it had a software component where I had to survey our whole student body and create. It was a personality test, and it told you who you're most compatible with. And I don't know
Oh,
why they trusted, a pimply faced, nerdy teenager. They did. And it was a great venture. And then went on to like create that kind of we called it love match or data match. I forget what we called it, but did that for other schools in my area. Love software, love helping people, and I loved relationships too. Met my wonderful wife. We been married 13 years at this point, and she's pregnant with our sixth child. And was at work one day and had a conversation with a friend. And this friend opened up to me about his sex life. Now, although my wife know how to make babies, sex is the area of our relationship that we don't talk a lot about because it's anxiety inducing.
Sure.
We both carry a little bit of shame from it. We both come from good families, but conservative, and sex wasn't talked about much at all. And here I have this friend opening up to me about his sex life. Now, just to make it really clear, this isn't like bro locker room type,
Oh yeah.
bragging. It wasn't like
Yeah.
that.
It was legit. It was a sincere question or sincere exploration.
Yeah, yes. Although I didn't ask him, it kind of came on suddenly. But his
Okay.
point is, Dan, once my wife and I really got our sexual relationship better and dialed in, everything else in our marriage has improved. We're communicating better, we're parenting together better. Like, we look forward to seeing each other. Like, so much in our relationship has gotten better once the sex got better.
Mm,
And that really caught my attention. And I could just see something in his eyes that he had something that I didn't have. And I really wanted that. But I had
mm.
this chasm to cross, Beth, because sex is so taboo in my mind. Wait, how am I supposed to like sex and be okay with it when it's also uh, not okay? Like, but it was just all kind of like I
Yeah.
gotta navigate this minefield, and I was so anyway. Go home that night to my wife Emily and say, "You never guess what kind of conversation I had with so and so today." And I was right; she could never have guessed. And I was self-conscious, like, because I've never asked her in my marriage to that point, like, "Are you satisfied in bed? Do you like?" Making love with me is are there things you've always thought about wanting to try but you haven't brought up because you're afraid to hurt my feelings or didn't know how it'd go? Like, uh, what do you think about this? My friend told me about that. Like, or what's your opinion on this? And by the way, we're like blushing and giggling like little kids because we still know
Yeah.
how to deal with it, right? And we were so nervous, but 5 hours later, we decided, it's getting late. We better go to bed. It was a 5 hour
A
conversation.
5 hour
5 hour
conversation.
conversation. It was
Okay.
the most vulnerable, intimate conversation I had to that point in our marriage about that. And then the next night, more conversations. And the next night, so for the next few weeks, we're really like starting to decide together, all right, let's go, let's do this together. Let's figure this out together as an intimate team. Let's figure out sex for us a little bit better. And within a few months, uh, we're communicating better. We're we've always been good friends, but the level of friendship went even deeper. We excited to see her. The sky is bluer, the grass is greener. Like everything in our marriage and in life tend to just go so much better because we figured out, a lot of our sex life at that point. And that breakthrough had such a profound impact on me that it's led to a career change. And now I want to help couples have that kind of depth and experiences in their sexual relationships too. Because I think a lot of marriages, they're like ours, where they're good. They get along well for the most part. They
Yeah.
communicate well. Finances may not be the issue, or in-laws may not be the issue, or religion may not be the issue, but they'd say we have a great marriage except when it comes to sex. We don't quite have our sexual side figured out yet. And that's the taboo side that people just don't talk about that much. And I really, there's a lot of pain. Like I met with a couple earlier this week, and I could just, it was such a heavy coaching session because I could just see just how much pain and hurt is on either side. It's from the outside in, it feels like they have everything, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of poverty in the bedroom.
And
And we really want to help couples like figure that out and heal that and thrive.
and the taboo and the lack of communication, that's the source of a lot of the pain, right?
It's a lot of it. Yep. Some of it is shame. Some of it is not, it's emotional connection. Some of it is like a history of hiding and not being completely forthright and direct with your spouse. Part of
Yeah.
it is just mismatched sexual desires and not knowing how to navigate that as a couple. Some of it's just lack of sex education.
Well,
They just
that's
don't
what I wanted.
understand how sex actually really works for most people.
That's what I wanted to follow up with. I mean, you're working with married couples and it's a blessing. I mean, I've listened to your podcast episodes. You talk very openly about the topics that are on this taboo list. But what about the like prior to when you get married? Like, do we need to do a better job of sex education so that it's not a taboo subject?
There's so many schools of thought on that and a lot of opinions. I so yes, my opinion, my belief is uh, it's this is best coming from parents. I know a lot of people like to blame their church for things or other things, or their schools, or blame it on porn. That's where they first got a lot of information about sex or whatever. I think ultimately it's on parents' shoulders to teach their kids. In an ideal setting, it would be from the parents. So, but as a parent myself with children, like it's not easy to
Yeah.
to talk about that, broach that, because we remember what it was like when we were a kid getting the talk and seeing the fear and look in our parents' eyes. And we don't want to traumatize our own kids with the same thing. So there's a lot of hesitance probably in that, but I do think parents have a lot to do with it. But ultimately, the message I want my children to understand is the goodness of sex. It's the
Mm-hmm.
pleasure. It's the power it has to bring a husband and a wife closer together. It's that strong bond that is forged through positive, fulfilling, transcendent sexual experiences. For a couple, it can be their source of replenishment from all the chaos and the broken garage trims and the extra taxing that you get from a mistake with the government, with all the things that happen in life. Sex is your place of retreat. It's your place of replenishment. It's your place where you can kind of, as adults, go and play as children again and kind of be away from the pressures of the world and find this deep sense of replenishment. That's the message I want my children to understand, that sex has this beautiful and wonderful place.
That's great. I think that's so important. And it just comes screaming through in the episodes I've listened to of your podcast and all of your content, that positivity. Because for so many of us, we get married and all the messaging around sex has been around
No, no, no,
what to
no.
be afraid of.
Oh, yes.
Like
Oh, yeah.
don't
Oh,
be
see.
afraid of pregnancy and be afraid of disease. And I'm not saying those messages don't have a place. Obviously they
Oh,
do.
yeah. We need to
But
protect
but
our
the
children.
positivity,
Yes.
yeah, the pleasure aspect is so important. And especially, I mean, a lot of us get to adulthood not understanding how a woman feels pleasure in sex because it's so penis oriented,
Yeah.
and it's not the same for both sexes. So the message you're delivering is really, really important. Speaking of gender differences, in your work, how common is it for the man in the relationship to be higher libido? That's the situation with Sheri and I, and a lot of people we meet, honestly. Does your coaching experience match that stereotype?
I'd say about 70% of the couples I work with in my coaching program is where the husband has the higher sexual desire. And if you take a wide swath of the population and look at couples in long-term relationships, we're not talking about like, um, hookups or
Right.
the dating phase. Like we're talking about you've been together, you've been married a long time. Generally speaking, men have the higher sexual desire. And but if you're a woman but there's so much, like we're looking at the bell curve, right? What's the
Right.
middle of the bell curve? If you're in a marriage where you're the wife and you have the higher sexual desire, there's nothing gone wrong. I look at it like, generally speaking, men are taller than women, but I could have married a woman who's taller than me.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean there's nothing abnormal about that. That's the way I look at it with men being higher desire. And again, sexual desire is always relative to your spouse. Like in my marriage, I
Yeah.
have higher sexual desire to the woman I've married, but I could have married in a different situation where the woman I've married has the higher sexual desire than me. It's always relative to who you're married to.
Is it your experience in your coaching practice? I like to describe it that we're all snowflakes in this area. The
Uh-huh.
likelihood that you're going to marry someone with the same sexual desire is almost zero. Now, more often than not, the man's going to have more desire, but it doesn't really matter which way the divergence goes. It's pretty likely that there's going to be some divergence you have to deal with. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd say it's very rare to marry someone with the same level of sexual desire, because differences in desire apply to sex, but they also apply to every dimension of your marriage. In your marriage, you're going to marry someone who might be more of a spender or more of a saver than you are, who might have different ideas of vacation, more adventurous or want to stay at
Hmm.
home, or different ideas about differences in parenting styles, or right? So you
Yeah.
look at and what attracts you to your spouse generally is differences. If you married someone who's the same as you, it would be a very boring marriage. There would be no spark, no room for passion to grow. Those differences are good. So let's celebrate that there are differences. And trying to collapse those differences is a recipe for a lot of misery and a recipe for a lot of uh, low passion in a marriage.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that's right. Okay. We talked a little bit about this when Sheri and I explained our experience from earlier in this week, but I feel like there is what I would call a rejection inherent in reluctant consent. When I was drinking, I was oblivious to a lot of this. But as I got sober and I became more aware, one
Uh-huh.
of the things I became aware of is sometimes my partner, Sheri, was having sex with me out of pity or because she didn't want to hear me complain or wifely duty or whatever. And that became really unfulfilling to me versus times when Sheri was enthusiastic about her consent. How important is enthusiastic consent, do you think, in the bedroom?
It's great because we don't want what we really want are sexual experiences where we walk out of the bedroom a better person than we came in.
Mm.
And for any person who is maybe offering sex out of an obligation or a duty, it um, there's a sense of self-betrayal going on, especially when this is like an ongoing thing in a marriage, right? It's like um, every time you engage in that way, there's a sense of yourself that you're betraying. I don't like
Hmm.
this, but I keep doing it. I don't like doing it this way, but I keep doing it. So it's not helpful for you to keep engaging in out of duty. But on the receiving side, it also doesn't help either because it's the message being sent is very clear. It's like, you're really not worth like my best, but here's some crumbs. And here you are settling for crumbs. It also feeds your own self-betrayal. Like, um, I'm I'm willing to accept something that's not going to be good for our relationship. Uh, and so it harms both people long term when it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We've talked a little bit about the sexual desire discrepancy. I definitely think it needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
It needs to be something that you converse about and actively work toward having an understanding around. But I've heard therapists, and I've seen therapists with videos on YouTube with massive followings where their message to the low libido partner in emotionally unsafe marriages is just do it. Like you've got to lead with sex and then hope the other things get better later, the emotional safety, the emotional intimacy. Um, do
Yeah,
you
that
ever
would
have
get
clients?
shared. Yeah, a message like that I can see on the internet would get shared
Uh-huh.
because it's like it's the person on the other end is like feeling like, yeah, yeah, she needs to see this or he needs to see this.
Yeah.
Like, right? Because it feels very validating, like, yeah. But it doesn't take into
Some
account.
Somehow in my Instagram feed, I get all these videos from women saying that women gynecologists who say women should sleep naked. It's better for their sexual health. I'm not asking you to respond on whether it's helpful or not, but I do
Uh-huh.
forward those to Sheri, and I get a lot of eye rolls for doing
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
you're right. A lot of
yeah.
the content is made for men to share with their wife and cause a
Yeah.
fight, right?
Yeah. I'm down for the cozy flannel,
Yeah, you like that one?
Not the crotchless panties, huh?
not the crotchless panties or pantyless, but
Do you have people that come into your coaching practice and this is a source of contention? I saw this on the internet and we're arguing about it now.
Yes, and here's the thing. Anytime you're trying to justify your position and find ammunition to support you, to put you in a position where I'm right, you're wrong, you need to do the changing, I don't, that is not conducive to an intimate relationship.
Mm,
The goal is
yeah.
intimacy. The goal is closeness. The goal is friendship, like deep friendship. So, um, I'm not saying that there's like you've seen this internet YouTube video. It's a little older. It's not about the nail. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you haven't. I'll give you a
I'll give a
brief
little
overview.
description. Yeah.
It's an excellent 2-minute YouTube video. It starts with a close-up of the wife, and you only see like from her eyebrows down, and she's complaining about constant headaches and like pain and pressure she feels. And you zoom out, and she has a nail sticking out of her forehead, and her husband's there's like, uh, "You have a nail sticking out of your forehead." He doesn't want to hear it because he's trying to. It's supposed to be funny because he's trying to fix her problem, and all she
Right.
wants is emotional support, right? It's funny. And that's a lot of the advice a lot of men get is you don't try to fix it, you should just listen. And I believe there is a time and a place for that. But if there really is a nail sticking out of your spouse's forehead, I think you have an obligation and duty to pull that out. What I'm saying is, you could be in a marriage where you are seeing clearly and there really is limitations on your spouse's side. Like, you know that this behavior you do over and over is not good for you, it's not good for our relationship. And speaking to that is loving. Pretending
Hmm.
that it's not there or just trying to like coddle them in their weakness does no one any favors. That being said, if you want to induce more change, positive change in your relationship, it never comes from trying to control your spouse more or trying
Ooh,
to manipulate
yes.
them more. It always comes from a commitment inside to live better.
Mhm.
That's where it
So,
starts.
so really, when somebody sees this video that says,
Sleep
the
naked.
therapist says just do it or sleep
Right.
naked,
Uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
not really about the validity of the message. It's about how it's being used in a manipulative
Control.
fashion. Yeah,
Yeah,
control.
it's
I
about
love
control.
that.
And we hate being
Mhm.
controlled. We resist control.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing too is the person doing the sharing of that video clip or whatever in this scenario, uh, they don't see they it's easy to justify. Let's see what I'm trying to say. They don't see the fault in it because it's
Hmm.
well-meaning. But the receiving side can sense that for what it is a mile away. They can smell, like my wife can tell when I'm manipulating her to get what I want out of her. She can smell a mile away. She sees it much more clearly than I see it in the moment. Because that's the way
Mhm.
our human brains are. We pick up on other people's motives way more clearly than we pick up on our own motives. Because it's a survival mechanism as humans. That's just we're excellent at reading the room and knowing exactly where we fit. But we don't see it ourselves. So sometimes when the advice is, start with yourself, it's hard for people to start with themselves if they don't have a reference point of someone else helping them, giving them a good reflection back of like what actually is going on, because we tend to have blind spots and we can't see ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of the last few questions that you've answered, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, um, those complacency sort of sexual experiences we had built up so much resentment.
Hmm.
And then when you would bring things to me like, you just need to get outside your comfort zone, you need to try. I thought it was just resentment, but I realized I did not want to be controlled and told what to do. Maybe because I had like this lack of respect for you bringing those to me and not just having this safe emotional environment. I haven't, but we hadn't really discovered like emotional safety yet. Like you kind of knew what it was, but you didn't know how to express it. We didn't know how to give it. So one of the things that Matt and I would do to kind of address our diversity in our libidos, and to make sure that you didn't feel rejected if you asked me and I said no. Also, I'm not the initiator a lot of the time. So you just laying in bed next to me waiting to initiate
That's always
was
a
a
good
level of
feeling.
discomfort.
Yeah.
We kind of tried this scheduling. Um, how does that affect the relationship? It's like spontaneity and libido, and is it positive or negative to kind of schedule sex?
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, what's your experience been like scheduling sex? Was it net positive, net negative? How did it play out for you?
Mm.
Well, when it was like on a given thing, like it's
Yeah.
going to play out
Like a
every
Friday
with this
night or whatever?
frequency.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was very negative.
Yeah.
When it was
Resentful.
we talk about it 2 days in advance, like, hey, the kids have something to do on Friday night, so do you want to kind of plan toward that a couple days in advance? So scheduling that was
Like
still
Monday,
had
Wednesday,
some
Friday or something. It
Yeah.
was like that was too much
Yeah.
and didn't take into account like the kind of day I had or the kind of day he had. So I felt like it was very negative and I was resentful of having to follow through because then the letting down.
Now I'm even more eager to hear your answer to the question.
I think scheduling sex works, but it absolutely matters on what you are scheduling.
Okay.
So, if you two can think of a physically intimate activity, it doesn't have to be sexual, that neither of you will never say no to, what would that be? Is it maybe a good makeout session? Is it holding hands? Is it hugging? Is it
Well,
cuddling?
I will say that just about every night, Sheri lays with her head on my chest for a little while, and I rub her back, and she like rubs my arm, and that is a very soothing thing for both of us, whether it
Okay,
results in sex or not.
great. That's for you. So whoever's listening to this, think about that. What's a physically intimate activity that you'll never say no to because it's good? That's what you schedule.
Mm,
So I get this idea from Dr. Stephen Snyder, who's written a fantastic book called Love Worth Making. And he talks about, he calls it the two-step because he doesn't have a fancy word for it. But the principle is this. Um, if you want to be intimate with someone else, you before you connect deeply there, you want to be connected with yourself first.
okay.
The more connected and at peace you are inside and settled down you are, the more capable you are of connecting with someone else too. Because if I'm like all crazy and nutso inside, I'm going to miss my spouse in that. Yet that's the way a lot of sex goes, especially when we're going to schedule sex every Friday. No, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's you haven't had that time to settle the inside yet. So you instead schedule the cuddling time with, your wife's head on your chest and you scratch her back. It's really soothing. What that's doing is helping each of you calm down on the inside. Now, from that place, hold on to that feeling. And if sexual arousal shows up, and it often will, then move to something a little more sexual. And if it doesn't, it's okay too. It's non-demand. There's not a demand for it. But if you can hold on to that, I've settled myself down, I feel connected to you in this kind of from a relaxed place, and you bring that into the sexual experience, you're going to have a much more uh, wonderful and positive sexual experience that way. And even if in the middle of sex, it's like, I've lost it, then just revert back to step one. So that's what he calls the two steps. Step one, settle yourself down. Step two, while carrying that settled, connected, centered feeling, whatever word you want to use, carry that into the more explicitly sexual experience then. So scheduling sex, great, but what you schedule matters. Schedule, relax, and settle something physical together first.
Yeah, absolutely. The benefit from that nervous system kind of partnered self-regulation, like we're
Yeah.
helping each other get to that place, has benefit in and of itself, regardless of anything transpires from there. It helps me sleep better just to get help calming down after, all the demands of a busy day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question for you about kind of on these topics of divergence between the way the members of a couple come into the relationship, and one is it's around arousal. Some of us experience spontaneous arousal. like if the wind blows right, or if I have a good cup of coffee, or if I'm awake, really, I'm pretty much
If I'm
aroused.
breathing,
That's right. Whereas others of us, like Sheri, for instance, have a more reactive arousal,
hmm
which, it takes some of that non-sexual intimacy, that emotional safety. It takes all of that to get Sheri going. And I'm curious what your thoughts are when you're coaching clients about the responsibility of the partner who needs help getting aroused to be proactive there, even if it doesn't come naturally. So this is not the just do it. I'm not saying just abandon your boundaries and do something you don't want to do. But do you have to lean in when your arousal is reactive as opposed to spontaneous? What would you say to that?
Absolutely. Okay. I've got a lot to say on this topic. Let me answer the question, and then I've got a story or a metaphor that I think will help.
Okay,
So,
great.
um, like you, Matt, I tend to be more spontaneous with sexual desire, and my wife is more responsive. And by the way, in long-term heterosexual marriages, the couples, men tend to exhibit more of that spontaneous pattern, and women more of the responsive or that more reactive pattern. But I have reactive desire in other aspects of my life. For example,
Okay.
weightlifting. I actually hate weightlifting. I don't wake up in the morning going, "Ah, I can't wait to move some weight today." But I want to get stronger. I want to be fit. I want to be strong. So I go into my home gym, and the first 5 minutes, I'm hating it the whole time. But then I get warmed up and I'm feeling
Uh-huh.
good. I'm getting some, right? I'm getting some pounds lifted. And I'm like, I don't want to stop. This is feeling good. This is great. I could keep going. And then I finish the workout and I'm always like smiling to myself, like, yeah, I'm so glad I did that today. Like more times than not, right? And I know that about myself enough that even though I don't want to, I want to. So I can step into the gym and start and just trust that most of the time desire will end up showing up in the process. That's what I think responsive desire is for a lot of women. So the advice
Hmm.
of just go do it actually is helpful because like, okay, once I kind of get into it, once we're kind of in the rhythm, I generally, most of the time, my body starts responding. My mind calms down. I kind of like it. Desire does show up. It's just that desire doesn't come first and then arousal. It's like something arousing has to happen first and then desire shows up second. And
Hmm.
it doesn't mean you're broken, doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just not the Hollywood model. Because in Hollywood, desire always shows up. And then,
And
right?
it always matches. It's
Always,
always a
yeah,
perfect
exactly.
match.
But so another thing I want couples to understand is this difference in approach is actually very healthy for a long-term relationship. I wasted so much energy early in my marriage trying to fix my wife, trying to get her to be spontaneous. She steps out of the shower and I am like, I see her, I am so excited. My body's standing at attention. I want to go. But if the roles were reversed, like, how come she's not jumping my bones and trying to get a piece of me at that moment? Like, something's got to be wrong with her.
Right.
I misunderstood. I just had this horrible misunderstanding of how sexual desire actually operates in a long-term relationship because I haven't had that education. So, advice to the spontaneous style tend to be more spontaneous. When you're married to a responsive person, you take things a little more slowly. I think of it like a staircase, or maybe better yet, like a car with the manual transmission. You don't go straight to gear five out of the
Right.
parking lot, out of the driveway. You go a gear at a time, and it's an invitation. It's like an invitation to a party. Hey, I've got a great party. You're going to have a great time, I promise. Will you come? And
Yeah.
it's an invitation. It's all about inviting to the next level of arousal and desire as you climb the staircase together or move up the gear shifts together. That approach is a lot more helpful and healthy.
In the example where you saw your wife coming out of the shower, I think this is really important for those of us who are the spontaneous arousal people to understand, because it's really easy to get our feelings hurt when every time she comes out of the shower, she's not revved up like I am. And it's really easy to go on for the next whatever 6 hours of your day all bent out of shape because you feel rejected. Just to understand the mechanism, understand how it works, is a great relief for us spontaneous arousal people who are married to reactive people.
Yes.
It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not like hideous or it's just not there in the moment, and we have to have some patience and understanding and education. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in my own marriage, there's been times it was reversed. My wife is more spontaneous, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening now. And it's taken me a while, and then eventually desire shows up for me, and we end up having a good time too. So it's just experiencing on the receiving end or on the other end. Sometimes I think as the spot, I see this happen too, especially guys that are nice guys. They don't want to hurt feelings. They don't want to ruffle feathers, right? They're very considerate, which is a great quality. But
Right.
then you're like, oh, I don't want to really pursue my wife because then she'll feel that pressure from me. So you kind of hold back, like, and then uh, sex is difficult. Passion is difficult because she wants to feel pursued. She wants to feel
Mhm.
desired. I was coaching a couple in this situation, and um, uh, he feels like he gets mixed messages from her. Like when he pursues too hard, she's like, "Hey, I'm not in the mood, back off." And then she complains that he's not pursuing her. Like, how
Right.
come you don't do this, right? And when we got into it deeper, it's because the way he pursues is like, are you okay if I touch you? Are you okay if I kiss you? Okay if I give you a little hug? Like, okay if I touch you a little bit here? It's like, it's not sexy.
Yeah.
It is not
Too
sexy at all.
timid. Too timid.
Just take her. And but what if she doesn't like it? Well, then she will tell you, and then you stop. But
Yeah.
and I'm not saying do something without their consent. I'm not saying do something you know your spouse won't like. But there's something very sexy in this for this couple at least. What they needed to work on is him to be a little more confident, him to like be in his own skin a little more, and like be a little more assertive, not so gingerly. And then that was really spicy for her to like, I can just relax and let you kind of dominate. Like there's a little dominate, and I can be submissive in this the way we play sexually here. And I don't have to like think about his feelings being hurt or not, and he doesn't have to think about her feelings being hurt. You can just play and have fun.
Dan was explaining that, Sheri. Were you wondering what it would feel like to have a kind and kind of down downshifted husband who's not always the pursuer? Oh, don't worry.
No.
You'll never have to wonder about what that, or you always have to wonder about what that
Yeah.
feels like.
You know, I was like, huh, I wonder how I would react to that.
Yeah.
But I think,
We'll probably go to the grave never knowing.
yeah.
Well, maybe we can role play. That would be a fun role play.
That could
Hey,
be a fun
Dan.
role play.
Yeah.
Dan, after we tell our listeners about our sponsors, we're going to shift gears and talk about stress and shame and how that shows up in an intimate relationship. But
Great.
first, we want to tell our listeners that we are sponsored by SoberLink. SoberLink is the premier remote alcohol monitoring system, combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate design to support accountability in recovery and family law. It's the top-of-the-line handheld breathalyzer. Today, we are talking with Dan Purcell about intimacy. There's nothing more important to a successful emotionally and physically intimate relationship than trust. Intimacy is the ultimate demonstration of trust. So rebuilding trust should be a priority in any relationship in recovery. And that's where SoberLink comes in. SoberLink is not just a handheld breathalyzer you can buy at the drugstore or on the internet, a cheapie that breaks or gives unreliable results. SoberLink's best-in-class service and product combination includes built-in facial recognition and tamper detection, expert in-house support, emailed daily, weekly, and monthly reporting that's court admissible in all 50 states and Canada, unlimited testing days, and scheduled testing to build accountability and trust. SoberLink is the right tool for bringing trust back into a relationship that's been wrecked by alcoholism.
So let me tell you what SoberLink is to me. It's a sign that you're serious this time, that you hear me when I tell you I can't trust you, that you're willing to let your ego be put aside for a second and do something for me. for our family. SoberLink is an indication that you love me more, that you love the kids more, than you are selfish about doing it your way.
Right now, SoberLink is offering Intoxicated Podcast listeners a free offer ID valid for a $100 enrollment bonus. Go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
To claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus, there is no commitment required to claim your offer ID while this promotion lasts. And you can use your $100 enrollment bonus when you're ready to place your order. To claim your offer ID, you will only be asked to provide your name and email address. No other personal details, no commitment, no credit card number. To claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus, please go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
The Untoxicated Podcast is part of a 501c3 nonprofit research organization.
We learn from you, our listeners, and we share with you what we learn. It is a growth and discovery oriented symbiotic relationship, a partnership, and there is nothing more important to our understanding about the impact of addiction and emotional abuse than hearing from you about your instincts.
Right now, we are trying to learn more about your experiences with emotional safety and the opposite of emotional safety, emotional abuse. What role do your instincts play in navigating that? Whether you're wondering if you have experienced emotional abuse in your relationship, or you're wondering if your behavior could be considered emotionally abusive, we have a confidential, easy to take survey ready to help you better understand what you've experienced. Our survey will only take a minute or two to complete, and as I said, we will hold your response in strict confidentiality.
Please go to untoxicatedsurvey.org to take the survey. As a thank you for participating in our research, we will share helpful resources, including a free ebook, and we will respond directly to you to share our feedback on your experience.
And if our connection and communication leads to you deciding to join one of our programs, right now for a limited time, we are offering a free trial month.
Free resources, including a free ebook, free feedback from us, and a free month of participation. Listen to your instincts and take our survey.
Please go to untoxicatedsurvey.org. All right, Dan. Let's get right back into it. For some, stress is a desire killer. For others, like me, stress is, or sex is a release of stress. Mm-hmm. So I like sex when I'm stressed. Mm-hmm. How do couples navigate stress? Do you see that kind of dichotomy sometimes?
Yeah, in the book, Come As You Are by Dr. Emily Nagoski.
Oh,
it's a
I love
fantastic
that book
on sex. She quotes a study, and if I recall correctly, for most people, sex is she uses this metaphor of a brake and an accelerator in a car. Mm-hmm. Like there's things that excite us sexually and things that dampen our sexual interest. For most people, stress is a sexual dampener. But for a few people, stress is an accelerator. When I'm stressed, my sexual desire increases. It's different for people, and I have my theories as to why that is. But if you go through life or a stressful time in life, it makes sense that sexual interest is going to wane. Like your body's not going to be interested in getting it on when you have other things to worry about. So learning how to manage stress and manage it well is a lifelong quest. And it's not just about sex, it's about overall health and just being a happy person too. That's an important skill to have.
Does this fall into the category like the other things that are related to desire discrepancy where communication within the relationship is important? If stress makes me more active sexually or want to be more active sexually, and it's a shutdown for Sheri, communication is really key there, isn't it?
Yep, I'd say. And just being able to understand, like, hey, I'm feeling stressed. Can we have sex? Now, a warning, don't turn your spouse into your stress ball, into your only outlet. Like, that's using another person. And I don't think they're kind. But it's going to be a little different when it's like something they both want to do. Like, hey, you're a little stressed. How about we go have a quickie in the closet real quick? Would you like that? I would find that fun too. Like, do you see how, as long as you're collaborating, I like the word collaborate more than communicate, because collaboration invites two people with different ideas to create something better together. whereas just communication is just like, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, it's just sending messages to each other. So like collaborate on this. Like, how can we work together? And the collaboration might be, I don't like that. I feel like you're a stress ball. Like, don't use me as your outlet. Like, I've got a life too. Like, I feel like an object when you're stressed. It's a turn off for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I like, and I wholeheartedly agree. Certainly, someone who has had a serious addiction and has a predisposition to compulsivity about other things as well. I definitely don't want to turn my wife into my medicinal, object.
But that's how it was for years in your
It
drinking
was.
days. To manage the stress, depression, anxiety, you used me as a stress ball. So, and then it created a lot of resentment. So having that, I like the word collaboration instead of communication, because
Mhm.
that's how I feel like we collaborate now under stressful situations.
I feel like now, as long as you're getting your other needs met for emotional safety, emotional intimacy, I'm helping with the kids, I'm helping around the house, and you feel good about the relationship, it becomes an opportunity for generosity for you, even if you're not aroused necessarily, but you know it would be something generous you can do. You do it, and it doesn't come from a place of obligation. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that collaboration as well. Let's talk a little bit, Dan, about shame and sex. You're a Christian sex coach. Some of the shame around sex comes from the ways some religious denominations treat things like masturbation, sexual fantasy, same sex relationships, non monogamous relationships. Shame is like cold water on arousal. Do clients come to you to address shame, whether it's religion oriented or otherwise, around sex? And how do you deal with that? How do you advise them?
Yes, all the time. I just met with someone this morning about this topic and yesterday too. So, shame fundamentally is causes us to disconnect and hide. It's if there was a life instinct that puts the smile on your face, the pep in your step, and invites you to expand and grow, shame is the opposite of that. It's the death instinct. It's the one that wants you to go in the corner, put a blanket over your head, and just crouch down and like disappear. So when we feel shameful about natural sexual functioning, natural sexual desires, meaning, oh, because I'm feeling horny, as you said earlier, I must be bad. Like there's something wrong with me. I like uh, it's a very um, it's going to be very difficult to be intimate and connected and be close with someone else fully. In marriages, I believe we want to give our full self, our best self, and create a union in the fullest sense. But if there's part of yourself that you hold back because you're ashamed of it, it's going to be very difficult to create that more deeper, closer union as a couple. So, shame is something we do need to address. Now, some religious traditions, like we laugh about it now a little bit, but like Martin Luther was. Uh, he's quoted saying, and by the way, I have nothing against Martin Luther. He was a fantastic man, reformer. It just shows the attitudes of the culture of the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's quoted saying, like, uh, every time a couple has sex, God looks the other way because, like, he doesn't like it, but he permits it because otherwise we won't have babies born. Kind of an attitude, and and then you have other religious leaders that kind of had the same kind of a thought, like it's it's for procreation only, like
Mm-hmm.
minimally used, because and I'm sure they had their various reasons. And I think because we've had these messages from, I think well-intentioned leaders, we some people do grow up with this idea that maybe having sexual feelings or sexual desires are bad and shameful. And then they have a really difficult time reconciling that with spirituality. Here's another message. If you struggle with pornography, pray more, get more into the Word of God more, as if those are as if sex is sin and spiritual things are not. and one will squash the other. There's nothing wrong with being more prayerful and being in the Word more and trying to live a life more in line with your beliefs. But it's the thought that I can't be a sexual person and a spiritual person at the same time. It's like oil and water. Like that kind of a messaging, it doesn't help with integration. We want to be integrated, to have integrity. And that's a process of maturing and learning how to understand how our sexual nature fits in with our spiritual, emotional, physical, psychological nature also as an aspect of the whole of us.
One of the things that I learned in grad school is that whether it's because of religious influences or societal influences, it doesn't really matter. We have had in traditionally over time we've had a tendency to pick and choose which areas of sexuality, which acts are appropriate and which are inappropriate. And certainly there are things that are inappropriate, but we've probably lumped some things that are just natural, instinctual behaviors and feelings and desires into the naughty category. And that creates in people this, like they pathologize that I like this thing. And so I must be a bad person. And then it starts to spiral and it does become a compulsive behavior. Do you have people that come to you and say, gosh, I want to try something, but everything about my upbringing has taught me this is a bad thing, and I've got to get over that kind of shame hurdle first before it can be addressed. Does that make sense?
Yes, and possibly. And the answer might be, yeah, you probably shouldn't do it. Or the answer
Okay.
might be, oh yeah, maybe we do need to explore this and learn how that works. I think it's going to be my model and my view is it's a developmental model, meaning all of us at one point or another, we need to start with a do's and don't list. Like think about your children. Like here's the sidewalk, here's the street. You do not walk into the street, right?
Okay.
That's the level of development of a 3-year-old. They don't understand traffic very well. You're going to give them very clear yes and no, black and whites. As they get a little older, now you're teaching them, well, look both ways before crossing the street. Like, because they can now understand, right? They can a little be more aware. See how as their development progressed, they're able to take on more complexity and then make better
Mm-hmm.
decisions. Sexually, we're the same way. We all need to start somewhere. So it's not bad that we have, if that's the level we're at, that, oh, these are uh, okay to do and not okay to do, like lists. But as you grow and mature, you're going to learn how to like navigate that a lot better and a lot differently. So it really is a developmental approach.
So don't skip building blocks. You can get where you're going, but
Right.
don't go from A to Z without all the letters in between, basically.
Yes. So your question about, okay, a couple comes to me and this is kind of what they're struggling with. How I would work with that couple would depend very much on what stage they're at in their development sexually, cognitively, psychologically, and then help them get to their next level. Because someone at let's give it a number, level 3 is going to get very different. What would be helpful for them is going to be very different than someone who's at level 2 or level 1.
Yeah. And I want to make clear to our listeners, like, in preparing for our time together and just enjoying and getting a lot out of your content in general, like you've got a podcast episode about squirting,
Yeah.
female ejaculation. So it's not
Uh-huh.
like, your message is not, it's all missionary style all the time. It's just we have to take care with how we get from one level to the other. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
That's fair. I also like to think of it this way. Um, all sex acts are neutral. They're neither good nor bad. It just
Okay.
depends on how you want to spend it. It's like this. Money. Is money good or bad? It
Yeah.
depends on how you spend it, right? You could do some very good things with your money. There are some very destructive things or wasteful things you could do with your money. I believe sexuality is the same. It just, so you want to squirt? Great. You want to have oral sex? You want to use toys? You want to role play with fantasies? Right? Like, what are you creating with that? Am I creating more connection, depth, intimacy? Am I creating disconnect, shame, hiding? It depends on what you're using. Masturbation's another topic that comes up a lot. Like, is masturbation good or bad in a marriage? And the answer is, depends on why and how and what you're creating with it. There are couples who use masturbation as a way to bridge the gap. They use it as a very constructive way, or they use it as a way to somehow have this sense of feeling connected when they're apart. They use it as a way to not use their spouse as their stress ball. There's all these like reasons why they would include that and use that in very constructive, helpful ways in their relationship. And then there are other couples where masturbation use is a way to take their sexuality out of the marriage. They use it to, uh, it's kind of as a, forgive the expression, it's like a FU to their spouse. And that's why they're using masturbation
Mhm.
to send a very clear message that they're unhappy with their spouse. Like you can see how it's not the act, it's what you're doing or what's being created because of that act matters far more in a relationship.
Let's say though that a couple comes to you and there is an act that one of the partners really wants to pursue, wants to explore from
Uh-huh.
a genuinely like loving place.
Uh-huh.
But the other partner, for that partner, it's a pretty firm boundary.
Uh-huh.
Um, does the partner who wants the exploration, do they just need to respect that boundary of their partner?
Yes, that's my short answer. Yeah. Again, it comes down to collaboration. And it's
Yeah.
gonna now you got to take into account personality. Like some people just aren't open to new experiences. And then you have others that are like, yeah, I wouldn't I'll try anything at least once, right? They're the more adventurous type. You're going to have different mixes. And then testosterone tends to influence a desire for more novelty in sex. And so if you're married to a man who with a lot of, healthy testosterone, a lot of healthy sexual desire for novelty, like a wider range of sex acts, it might be like part of loving well is like leaning into that, leaning into the discomfort and growing into that. Or it might be saying, hey, just because you want a wider array of sexual behavior doesn't mean you're more sexually mature than I am. It's your capacity to be deep with me and to love me well. That's what that's the real measure of a good sex life for me. It's not like are we checking these things off for more notches in our belt? It's me, the soul of me. Do you care about me? Like so it's going to be different couple to couple. But in general, it
Hmm.
comes back to collaboration. Can you collaborate
Yeah.
on this? Like maybe you're not up for it, but you're willing to try. Or maybe we'll do this, but we're going to uh, use condoms so the cleanup is a little easier. I don't know. I'm making this
Hmm.
up, but you
Right.
can get a little creative sometimes, or you can find ways to love well through your sexuality that honors both people, if both people are willing to lean into their discomfort sometimes.
Yeah. I'm sure you have couples that come to you where the marriage is strong and stable in many, many ways. They need a spark in the bedroom. They want to figure out how to increase the awesomeness of their intimate relationship.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sure you also have couples that come to you where trust has been broken, either through addiction or infidelity or neglect. Is the process different working with people with broken trust to get back on track?
I'd say again, it's like that developmental model.
Sure. Okay.
So I work with people where they're at. I personally don't work with a lot of couples where there's been serious distrust. I don't work with couples on the brink of divorce or there's serious addictions or mental health challenges. I would refer them to a therapist or like a professional with a license to work in their state that has training in that specific area. My training is uh, the sexual dynamic in the couple specifically. That being
Okay.
said, it is really hard to have a sexual relationship with someone who has, uh, self-destructive behavior, addictions, um, that you don't trust. Why would you want to get in bed with someone that you don't really, why would you let someone in your body that you can't really trust being there. So absolutely, we need to start there. Trust is so important. And I once worked with a man. He's like, oh, my wife just doesn't trust me. Like, yeah, I had a history of past. I've done all these things. How can you help me make her trust me more? It's a great valid question because that's the dominant thought in his mind, right? How can I get her to trust me more? I've changed. I
Mhm.
haven't done, I don't do those things. And counseling this man, I think the best for him was to hear was whether she trusts you or not will ultimately be her choice. And
Mhm.
that's something you don't have full control over. But what you do have full
Mhm.
control over is being trustworthy. And that
Yeah.
puts the ball full in his court. Like, so his work was to be fully trustworthy. So that's keeping every promise he makes. I'll be home by 5, you're home by 5. I'm going to run this errand for you, you run that errand, or whatever it is, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
be clear and transparent with you. I'm not going to hide from you anymore. Like, now whether she ends up trusting him or not, that's going to be her choice, but at least he has control over that.
I love that. Trustworthy, and I would add trustworthy and patient. What we
Yeah,
see a lot
patient.
is
Yeah.
here, you want me to change my behavior and be more trustworthy. There, I did it for 15 minutes. We're good now, right? Like,
I've earned
so
it. Can I have a cookie now?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. One of the things we talk a lot about, Dan, is what we call the sex sequence. It starts with emotional safety. That has to be kind of a baseline foundational aspect of the relationship. But then we build on top of that emotional intimacy. And what I mean by emotional intimacy is not just that, Sheri, you feel comfortable bringing something to my attention without worrying about what my reaction is going to be, but me actually taking initiative to ask you, how is your day? How is that thing you were worried about at work? I know you're feeling some stress and pressure about one of the things going on with one of our kids. Let me proactively interact with you on that. So initiating emotional intimacy, and that's the kind of thing that leads to physical intimacy, certainly in our relationship, and we see it with other people. So that middle layer, you've got your safety and you got your physical intimacy, that emotional intimacy. How much importance do you put on that piece?
Oh, a ton of importance. Like we talked, that's how we opened our episode, right? So important to have that emotional closeness. Um, what I guess some people view sex as like orgasm exchange, like getting off. And there's nothing wrong with that view, but the kind of sexual experiences when I look back that are most meaningful to me, they're actually very emotional. They're they're uh they're deep. Like something happened there where words aren't adequate to describe, but all of a sudden
Ooh, I like
we're
that.
different, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like this, and it's not about intensity. I mean, that could be a part of it, but so it's emotional. It's all emotional. And here's something I challenge my spouses to try. Orgasm with your eyes open. Right? And this is metaphorical as well as literal, right?
Oh,
Like,
sure.
so uh, usually when we orgasm, our faces contort because that's what humans do at that moment. And it's kind of an awkward moment. We don't want to be seen, but can you let your spouse in? Like, no, see me. I want you to see me. And you invite them with your eyes, right? Like, look
Yeah.
into my soul in this moment. That's what we're talking about. Like, so to have sex with your eyes open, like really look into each other's
Yeah.
soul. And that's emotional. That's very much that middle glue. It's not just bodies rubbing against each other or fantasy plus friction, some people call it. This is something a lot more of the soul. Like bring your soul. That requires that, as you talked about, that emotional
I
closeness.
I got two gems from that answer: the literal and the figurative thought about orgasm with your eyes open. That's beautiful. But I also got out of there the title for this episode. We're going to call it "Dan Purcell Explains Orgasm Exchange." That'll just rope people right in.
Is that a clickbait?
Yeah. No, I've never heard that term, but I love it. We won't title the episode that, but you're right. That's what we want to avoid. We want it to be deeper and more important than that for sure. Okay. Esther Perel says foreplay starts at the end of the last orgasm. Do you agree with that statement? And can you explain to our audience what that means from your perspective?
Absolutely, 100% agree with that statement. Foreplay is not what you do 5 minutes before you want to get it on, right? Foreplay is an all day, 24-hour, 24/7 activity. It's now it depends how you're defining foreplay here. Like some people think foreplay is like genital touching before penetration, and yes, I guess that is foreplay. But what I'm talking about is it's the creating positive erotic tension in your relationship, creating a
Ooh, I like that.
it's me seeking and desiring you and you seeking and desiring me, but we can't because there's a chasm we both need to cross. Like this tension, this healthy, you want healthy tension in your relationship. Too many couples collapse it too much, and I think that's what Esther Perel is talking about. So, uh, so you finish one sexual encounter, uh, you immediately begin continuing to romance your spouse if that's how they like to be responded. Pursuing your
Mm,
spouse, being emotionally close to your spouse, not right up right when you're in the mood and it's been 3 days, I better start, doing those things now so I get what I want. Like that's
yeah,
not helpful, conducive long term. It's a continual activity. The moment one encounter ends, start planning for your next one by um, by being lovingly towards each other, creating more erotic tension.
I love that. Erotic tension, positive erotic tension. Yeah. Spontaneous arousal guy needs to step out of his comfort zone and be not only a nice guy, but a loving guy all the time. I love that, Dan. I want to end on one of your, I believe it's an original concept I've heard you talk about, and I want you to share it with our audience. Can you explain what other validated intimacy is versus self validated intimacy?
Oh, okay. It's not an original concept. It's I got this idea from Dr. David Schnarch, who wrote a fantastic book called Passionate Marriage. And the premise of the book, and it's the also the premise that I use in my coaching and my podcast and everything I do, is the key to more erotic, deeply erotic sexual experiences is intimacy, closeness. It's
Right?
that emotional intimacy that we've been talking about. That is how you get to better sex. And so struggles and problems with sex come to the way intimacy is. Now when we talk about intimacy, there's the feel-good side of intimacy, like, oh, you love me and I love you and you think I'm great and I think you're great. Like that is definitely part of it. But there's the other shadow side of intimacy we don't talk about that much, which is I know you and uh, there's things about you that I don't like. Fundamentally, intimacy is about knowing and being known.
Right.
In long-term relationships, we tend to want to hide the parts we don't want our spouse to see. I don't like it. I don't want my spouse to see if I'm generally a chipper person and I'm having a bad day, I don't want her to see that, so I'm going to hide that. That's like a small example. But when it comes to sex, I have these sexual desires. I, okay, here's a story. This specific podcast that you're talking about, a man listened to it 3 times, he said, and then he sent me this email. He's like, Dan, for the longest time, I've wanted oral sex in my marriage,
Hmm.
but I knew if I brought it up, it would really offend my spouse. We're, but I think about this constantly. I've been thinking about it for 10, 20, 30 years. I really want this to be part of a marriage, and I've never voiced that concern because I'm afraid if I bring it up, she'll be so hurt and offended. The little sex that we already have will now be at zero. It feels risky. This is other validated intimacy. This is the first study.
Hmm.
This is when I need you to like me so that
Hmm.
I get the kind of sex that I want, but I'm only getting a part of what I really like. I'm not getting the full part because I'm afraid if you knew everything that I wanted, you'd reject me, the whole of me, and I'd get nothing. It feels risky. That's other
Hmm.
validated intimacy in action. So he was challenged to consider a self-validated intimacy. And it's this concept of I um, I want to let in order for my wife to really love me, she has to know me. The more she
Mhm.
knows me, the more she knows me, the more she can love me. Like we can't love people we don't know very well.
Right.
Um, and it's very exposing for me to reveal to her that I really want oral sex because I put myself in a position where I can be rejected and I'm anticipating that rejection. And she now knows something about me that I've been thinking about a long time. And she's going to now make that the dominating thought. Like, so there's all this like drama going on, right? Anyway, one night just had the courage and just, very lovingly said, I need to tell you something. I really want this. I've been thinking about this. I'm not demanding it. I'm not asking for it, but I don't want to go to the grave with you not knowing all of me and all of my sexual desires. And
Mm,
then he sends me this amazing email. It's like, Dan, that conversation went better than I thought it would. We're not having oral sex, but like just the fact that I could be that open with
yes.
her and and kudos to his wife. She didn't like shame him or anything for that. She's like, I'm glad you shared. Maybe I can work towards something like that. Not now, but maybe I could be open to that one day. Like just that whole conversation, he's like on cloud nine. I was driving home from dropping off my son at school, and on my playlist came an old 90s song, Iris. I forget who made that one. It's kind of a
Sheri
real
or
kind of
Goo Goo
rock
Dolls?
song. Yeah,
Goo
yeah,
Goo
yeah.
Dolls, I
Maybe it
think.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But this was a cover, and it's like an acoustic cover. I've never liked the old original song, but it goes like this, like the chorus says, and I don't want the world to see me because I don't think that they'd understand when
Oh,
everything
I know
seems to
that
be
song.
broken. I just want you to know who I am.
Who I Am.
And
Yeah.
I'm tearing up listening to this. This is self-validated intimacy at its best. The world's not going to understand. Uh, Things are so temporary. That's what the song's about. Like a flower, it's beautiful in its moment, but it dies. Like the intimacy you and your spouse share, one day one of you is going to pass away before the other. It's going to be gone. Right now is so precious. I want you to know who I am. Uh, that's
But
that's the message for me. I'm like, oh, it's so good.
yeah.
That's
Well,
self-validated intimacy.
it's certainly a version of emotional intimacy. I love it. I love the story. I love the song reference. That was a great synopsis. I laughed hard out loud when we asked the question because your facial expression clearly said, that's a whole nother podcast episode, just that one
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage our listeners to check out the Get Your Marriage On podcast, where you can hear a whole episode on other validated and self validated intimacy. And while you're there, listen to a lot of Dan's other podcast episodes. That's the Get Your Marriage On podcast. Also, check out Dan's getyourmarriageon.com website, where you'll find information about retreats and courses and videos and writing and apps. I mean, we can clearly tell you've got a software background. Your website is excellent. Good job there, Dan. Dan, thanks for being on the Untoxicated podcast today and sharing all that you know.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you. And you're going to be on my podcast soon. And I look forward to my listeners learning more about you and your story and the wisdom you share too. Thank you.
I love the collaboration, to use
Yep.
your word. It's really great.
Great.
Listener, did you hear something today that is valuable to you? Please support Untoxicated, the 501c3 organization that brings you the Untoxicated podcast. We know you're listening on your phone. Why not open that Venmo app and send a fully tax-deductible donation to at Matt-Salis with the last four digits 1412. $10 is great. That's at Matt-Salis, last four 1412, or go to supportuntoxicated.org. That's supportuntoxicated.org. And while you got your phone open, please go to untoxicatedsurvey.org and click radio buttons to help us learn what you've been through. Thank you for listening to the Untoxicated podcast. You've got this, and we've got you.